Alright everyone, I am here to give you the first of many Family Guy reviews. Every Tuesday you're going to get a Family Guy review, and if I miss it, I'll do two, if I missed one a week, I'll do two the next week. I'll explain that later. So, Family Guy. This is, everyone should know what this show is. That's, I would say 12 and older, maybe 11, but 12, you're just you're just going into middle school, you're pretty much about to become a teenager, you're a pre-teen, so that means you're not quite a teenager yet, so, you're not right there yet, but I would say if you're 12, you should know. Like, if you're 11 and you know about it, that's okay. 10, probably not. You just get into the teen. How can you know about this show? And it's a comedy, and it's animated comedy. And it was written by Seth MacFarlane, and he's written some other shows along the way, and he's made movies and stuff, which I'll talk about in later videos. And this is one of my, actually, I made a video talking about what my top favorite TV shows were of all time, and Family Guy, I believe, is my third favorite show of all time. So it's pretty big. Family Guy is like one of my favorite shows, and yeah, I think it's good, and it was nice to finally see the first episode. This was the very first episode, and this show has pretty much gone on from then all the way to now. This show has been on probably since I was about 3 years old. So obviously I didn't get into it right away because I was 3 years old. I started watching it probably when I was about 12. But I didn't really watch it when I was 12. I mainly started watching it a couple years ago because I never knew the channels, and I never really bothered to look them up. So yeah, but I started watching it. But on Netflix I'm gonna watch an episode, and then every week afterwards I'm gonna review it. And the beauty part about this show is if I miss an episode, this show doesn't really follow a storyline. Like, it kind of does, but like I can probably watch 3 episodes and nothing would really be different. But yeah, that's kind of how that is. I've seen, and because I'm pretty much watching it still now, and it doesn't really spoil anything because it doesn't like follow, a storyline. So if that makes sense. So let's get into it. So this is season 1, episode 1, and it's called Death Has a Shadow. And it came out on January 31st, 1999. So obviously it doesn't look as it does now. It looks way newer now. So it starts off, it shows this TV show. I think this was supposed to be the Brady Show, which was a big show back in those days. I didn't really watch the Brady Show because I was like 3 years old when this stuff was going on. So I think the Brady Show had just ended. And a girl, I forget her name, finds out this guy's been smoking cigarettes and tattles on his parents, her parents for him. And it's his brother too, by the way. It's her brother too. So he had to like spend 24 hours in like a trapdoor, which was pretty funny. And she got punished too because she tattled on him, which makes sense, and had to spend. No, he has to spend 4 hours in the trapdoor, but she has to spend 24 hours in the fire room, which is hilarious because she probably won't survive for like 2 seconds. It was a funny scene. It's actually the first scene. And then Lois, the wife, I guess I can tell you a little bit about the characters. The main characters really throughout this series is Peter. Well, the ones I give a crap about are Peter, Griffin. Then the show is based around the Griffins, so whatever storyline's going on, the Griffins are in it some way, somehow. It's the family, and they live in Quahog, Rhode Island. So they live in New England. And Peter Griffin's the father, and he has a wife named Lewis Griffin and 2 kids, Chris and Meg. And and actually they have 3 kids. Actually, they have a baby named Stewie Griffin, who's probably, I'd say 1. I don't really know how old he is. I won't say 1. I'd say like 2. And then because they can understand him somewhat when he talks. And then they have a dog named Brian. And I'm going to tell you about each and every one of these characters as this episode rolls along. But Lewis is like, why do they let kids get away with stuff like that? And then he's like, oh, but this is like in a bad neighborhood with, robberies, drugs, and all that stuff. I mean, I don't got none of that here. And then this black woman comes up and offers pancakes. He's like, all we have are, like, witnesses or something. It was a funny scene. And then it plays the theme song, and if you haven't seen the theme song, then what the fuck is wrong with you? I'll explain it anyways. They dress up like in like showgirl kind of things. I forget, I don't really know what it's called, but they play this song and talk about how and this one's an old version of it. This is the newer version, is the one I guess you would want to see. You know what? I'm not even gonna explain it. Go on YouTube. You can pretty much see it. If you haven't seen the Family Guy like theme song, go on YouTube and watch it, because that's what you do. So then the Griffin family is getting ready to eat dinner, and Meg wants to get, what do they call it? She doesn't like her lips. I forget what that she called. Doesn't say what it's called. But she wants to get new lips, though. It's like getting plastic surgery. And Lewis is like, no, appreciate what you have. Don't worry about what you look like on the outside. And then it shows they show a lot of flashbacks in this show too, of this guy who just pretty much looks scrawny and weak, looking out, and the girls hitting on the guy that have the muscles. Peter's going out for like a staff meeting. And we find, Lewis takes Stewie's toy. It really isn't a toy, though. He's like this baby that pretty much is like an evil genius. Says and asks and find out that he's been made, and it's like a mind control machine device. And she takes it away from him, thinking it's one of his toys, which was a good scene, because it builds up something later on in this episode. And then Peter's gonna go out for like a staff meeting, and Lewis is like, "No, you shouldn't be going out now, because you always go out and get drunk when you go out." And they went up these times, like when he went to the church, and they were like giving communion and stuff, and they were talking about God, and it actually showed God there himself, and he's like, "I'm sick and tired of hearing about this shit," which was hilarious. And Peter was drinking the like the wine, like the God's blood stuff you would take if you take communion, and says, "Wow, is this really God's blood?" And the priest is like, "Yeah." It's like, wow, God must have gotten wasted all the time, which is a good point, I guess. What else did he do? I'm trying to remember what else funny stuff he did. It was like stuff like that. I think. Oh, he licked ice cream, and he got like, I guess, sugar drunk, and fell face first through a table. And they were watching a Tom Hanks. They went to the movie theater and watched a Tom Hanks movie. And Peter had Irish coffee, and everyone was like all emotional crying, but his eyes were like wide open. And then he got like one of the jokes, like, "Oh, it's Tom Hanks. It's all funny and stuff." and he was laughing at the joke when Tom Hanks said he got AIDS, so that was funny. And then, but Peter promises that he won't drink alcohol, not one bit of alcohol is going to touch his lips tonight, which I knew was a lie. I don't think it was a lie, but he did promise, because immediately one of his friends, who we later, technically you should only know who this guy is, his name is Glenn Quagmire. As the show rolls along, I'll tell you more about his character, but we don't really see him much in this episode. But they mainly just call him Quagmire, though, and he forces it, and they play a drinking game where it's called first one to drink alcohol, and the winner gets alcohol. And he brings a porno. And then the porno's like this emotional moment when he's asking when this guy's asking like his girlfriend or wife, whatever she was, not to leave. And instead of like this big dramatic scene, was like, no, I won't leave. I'll always remember you. And she takes her clothes off. And the kids had taped over it. One of the kids, probably Meg, taped over it because they had to do like a school project, and they were watching and they were doing it, I guess, on the Statue of Liberty. So they're going to get themselves drunk until the Statue of Liberty starts becoming hot. That was hilarious. It really was. That was hilarious. And Peter breaks his promise, though. He didn't really want to at first, but then Quagmire was like, just pretty much talked him out of it, saying, these girls aren't really women. They don't care. But the next night, Peter is having a huge hangover. It's so bad that he's actually laying down on the table. That's how bad it is. What happens next is Lewis is like, you broke your promise. You went out drinking again. I thought we had a promise that you weren't gonna drink. And Peter's like, I know, and he has a headache, and it says it feels like there's two guys, accountants, like typing on the, you know what accountants do, typing on their calculators, and that's what it's like in his head. It's accountants count like a calculator, and one of them says, what do you think life is like out here? And he's like, get back to work, don't think like that. That was pretty funny. But then then Lewis says, if you all get drunk all the time, you're going to pretty much be broken. And then the leg of her chair breaks, and she could have broken her neck, but she didn't. And Stewie gets like a sort of evil laugh, and he goes, dang it! So we know he was behind it. So pretty much that, and I'll talk more about that when I get the chance. Then Peter says, hey, I took a cab home last night. I didn't drive. I slept on the table, so I wouldn't wake you up. So no harm, no foul. Nothing bad happened. And Lewis is like, you have a good point. So he's all fine, the relationship's all fine. But then we find out where Peter works. He works at a toy factory, and and his job is to make sure dangerous toys that the kids would use would get into the toys, and he falls asleep at the escalator, not the escalator, the machine, yeah, he was pretty much bored, so he falls asleep. I think he's still having his hangover too. And he falls asleep though, and you can see like in the row, there's like a bear, a Jack in the Box, all that stuff, and then we see knives. I think we saw a gun, pills, all the dangerous weapons. I think we even saw a toaster, which I don't really know how it would be dangerous to a kid. So the word breaks out. They're even using them. One of the baby, a baby doll, can breathe fire, and That was good stuff. So Peter gets fired when he even asks for how long. And he tells the kids about it, but he doesn't want to tell Lewis about it because she'll know that it will be all for alcohol. And he doesn't know what to do, if he should tell her or not, because he'll just think that it's all for alcohol and be pissed at him. So if you normally you see this in the movies, like there's like a conscience. The devil would be, I don't really think it matters where one is, but the devil is one of them, telling you to do the bad things, and he's telling Peter to lie, and normally the good one would come afterwards and say, don't lie, don't lie. But the good one gets stuck in traffic. He's late. He's going to, he gets stuck in traffic. I think that I'm not really going to say this isn't real, but this was more of a comedy thing. I thought this was hilarious, so I'm fine with it. So he's not going to tell Lewis about it. He makes it pretty obvious, though, like when she comes out there handing dinner. He's like, Meg, can you pass me that? I got my ass fired today. Pretty much making references that he got fired, but Lewis is clueless. And Peter's been trying to find jobs. He got a job. He was going to be like the bird on the Cocoa Pebbles thing, but he kept screwing up what he was supposed to say. He was supposed to say, I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. But he said Cucka for Cocoa Puffs, which is funny. And then he gets a job as like I guess he stops people from sneezing from salads, and one of them went to sneeze, and he pulled out his gun and said, take it outside, lady. And he entered a talent show and didn't win. Those were pretty funny scenes. So then, he's going to have, Brian's telling him he's going to have to, and Brian's a really smart dog, too. He's smarter than most of the family, as you see in this episode. He's a dog, but he has he knows everything about the human, like his brain's really smart, so, and he can talk and stuff, too, and he tells him you should tell Lewis what happened, and he's like, yeah, you're right, I gotta tell her what happened, maybe she'll understand. And late at night, we see Stewie creeping around, getting his toy back, and he's gonna use the mind control machine, and Lewis sees it, and he was gonna use it on her, but Lewis catches him, and takes the mind control device back. And Peter comes in to tell her about that he got fired, but he brings up this lie that she was fat, which I think is kind of strange, because if you're gonna come up with a lie, that's not something you would say. It was funny, but that's not something you normally should say. I mean, she probably would have got more pissed that she said that than anything else. And she's like, what are you talking about? I do the train out video 3 times a week, and Peter's fucking fatter than her, and he's like, when's the last time you seen your legs? And then she knows he's BSing her, but he still can't put himself to do it. And then the good angel finally arrives, which was hilarious, and he doesn't know, and he asks him what he should do, and then he has the conscience thing too, and the devil, it's the same bit though, says you should tell him to keep lying, and then the angel, like the good angel gets strapped in traffic too. That was hilarious. So he still doesn't tell him, and then Brian comes in and says maybe you should go on it's not like you have welfare or anything, because she's gonna, and he even said too, like, she's gonna notice because you're gonna lose your house. So Peter signs up for welfare, and he mentions like he didn't pass gas until like his 30s, so it shows a flashback of him voting when he was 30 and he didn't know what it was. That was funny. And he's supposed to get $100, and the welfare he got on welfare. The welfare is going to give him $150 a week. However, they screwed up everything. They actually are going to get $150,000 a week because somebody messed up and put a comma by accident. So, yeah, Peter finds out this, and Brian tells him you should go to them and return the money, and Peter's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Decides not to do it, and he said he's just going to spend that money instead. to provide for his family, because this is the only reason he hasn't told his wife. This is the only reason he does this, was so he could provide for his family. So he just buys a shit ton of stuff. He buys a statue. I forget what the statue was for, but you can see it. And he accidentally took its dick off, so he throws it into his boss's window, and he finds it. What else? They buy an expensive dinner, and it's just them going to a fast food restaurant, and they ask for vagina. Like, it sounds like vagina, but it's not. So that was like a funny bit. Peter even paid to have like a moat be dug, and for security purposes. And he says, and the lady was like, "Does that even work?" And Lewis was like, "Yeah, it keeps that night away." So that was funny. And she finds out though that she's on welfare. That Peter's on welfare. He's been using the money. Peter also paid to have, by the way, Meg's lips be replaced, and now Chris has boob injections. You know, fake boob. I guess fake boobs. So then, yeah, Lewis gets pissed about this, and she's been mad that he's been lying to her. And he ruined her trust. So he's gonna make things right though. And he said that he's gonna give the welfare money back, but he needs to do it in a way that they'll find out about it. So he goes to a football stadium, and one of the commentators was obsessively talking about football because and they were on commercial, and it was something to talk about. And they drive the blimp. And he drops the money, and everyone's going for the money. People are fighting over it, and the security shoot down the blimp, and they get arrested, which was awesome. So yeah, it was good stuff. And then yeah, they get arrested, and Peter in the shower had dropped the soap, so he gets made fun of for it. And he asks like if his wife's still gonna hate him, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I bet everyone's crashed their blimp into the football stadium. No one will worry about it. And then he's like, "I want to sleep on the top bunk," and Brian's on the bottom. And I guess Peter's so fat he breaks the top bunk right onto Brian. That was hilarious. So then Stewie, throughout the episode, I've been forgetting to mention this, has been trying to kill Lewis. He tried to shoot her with a crossbow, but missed, and was going to make grenades blow up if he didn't get his toy back. And Lewis ends up giving him his toy back, and then he's like, "Victory is mine." And the grenades blow up, and he's like, "Oh, damn you all," and it becomes like his catchphrase later on. So then Lewis finds out that Peter's been arrested and is having a court date. So the court date comes in. In the background, you see Quagmire, and we technically don't know who this guy is yet, but later on we find out who he is. His name is Cleveland Brown, and yeah, it's one of Peter's good friends. We haven't exactly met this guy yet, but he's in the background. But we've seen, since everyone's probably seen this show, you should know who Cleveland is. But then what happens? Yeah, Peter's testing his case, and Lewis is still mad at him, not because of he's ruined the trust and everything. So then what happens is Peter is making up some BS like he was watching TV, so that's why he didn't return the check, and says he wanted to do it because he wanted to provide for his family, be a good husband, provide for his family, and the judge sentenced him to prison for 24 months. Kind of extreme, but okay. And everyone starts, Lewis and Brian say, "Oh no," and then the Kool-Aid guy comes in and says, "Oh yeah," and it was like an awkward moment, so he just leaves. And Lewis says he was just being a good husband, he was being a good father, trying to provide for his family, and I think he should be, not get any punishments. And then the judge makes her go to prison for 24 months for no fucking reason. It was kind of strange. And then Stewie realizes that he's not going to have any parents around, so he uses his mind control device and makes the judge change his mind, and he doesn't. Peter's going to go free, and he even makes the judge give Peter his job back. So now they're not rich anymore. They're upset about that. By the way, Meg is back to her real lips now, and Peter's gonna try different ways. He's gonna try to make money, try being like a rapist, all that stuff. And that was pretty much the end of the episode. So I thought this was hilarious. I actually, I enjoyed this show more for comedy purposes, and a little bit more storyline, but more comedy. So I thought this was a hilarious episode. If this is like a big episode, so if this episode probably didn't succeed, maybe it still would have, maybe this show would still be going on today, but I think if this episode wasn't as good as it was, it wouldn't be around today. So that's kind of how I look at it. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'll be back to do another video at some point in time, and you can subscribe to this channel and all the stuff down below. And that's pretty much it, guys. See you later.